Welcome guys once more. In this video we'll be looking at HTML5 in details, and we'll also be looking at some styling concepts, and we'll be talking about different kind of styling including cascading styles. In the last video, recall that we talked about how to create a basic website, a basic web page using HTML, and we also use tables and divs to create some layout. And I promised that in the next video we are going to look deeply into HTML5, and here we are today. HTML5 concept. HTML5 is the latest HTML version that developers use globally in creating websites and different web applications that you use today. Now, what is so special about HTML5? HTML5 offers a wide range of elements that you can use to do a whole lot of things. Now, here I have created a little overview of what HTML5 does. It actually does much more than what I have mentioned here, but just for simplicity, I just brought out the most common things that HTML5 offers for most developers around the world. So I've grouped these things into 5 different items. First of all, when it comes to building sections and outlines or your page layout, HTML5 has a lot of elements that it offers you to be able to do this without much stress. And these elements are sections, articles, navigation, header, footer, as you can see on the screen and the side. We'll be using some of these later on in this video to explain how they can be used to create layouts of pages easily. If you recall, you will remember that we used divs and tables to create layouts in our last videos, and I told you that the recommended way to create layouts is divs. Actually, HTML5 makes it far more easier than using divs to just create layout. It gives you more options. Now, the other things that HTML5 also offer is the audio and video element. This can be used to add multimedia contents like videos and audio files into your page, into your website or your web page. And it also allows you to manipulate this multimedia element or multimedia content so easily. Another very nice improvement that HTML5 has brought into the web design industry is the improved form elements. We have improved form elements that can handle validation. Validation is when you want to check what the user inputted into the form, so that you make sure that it's not something that is harmful or not something that is not appropriate for whatever you want to use it for. And it also has new attributes and also some new type attributes that also helps you to build better forms and better validation. And it also has elements like the output that you can use to do some sort of calculation, and you make some desired outputs using the inputs from the forms. Now, we will be using forms later on in due course, but by the time we start using this, you will get to understand how awesome HTML5 actually is. The other things are, it has a whole lot of wide range of semantics or elements that you can use for some specific tasks. Things like ranging from adding figures or figure captions, or even adding a meter as a gauge, or a progress bar, like when you want to show a progress in maybe like in an installation progress or whatever. So it has all the specialized semantics like this to create for almost everything that you will be needing to do. These are things that ordinarily you would have used a lot of JavaScript to try to achieve, but HTML5 has them out of the box, and you just have to just apply them and apply a few set of rules, and you get your page working. Another very good improvement in HTML5 is in the iframe. Iframes are elements that you can use to add external resources to your page. You can add a full website page to your page, or a full website external resource, or a full page external resource that That means that you can add some items that are not actually working within the root folder of or in your website into your page using an iframe. And this usually comes with some security issues, which HTML5 has used some little attributes like the sandbox and the source doc to help to address. Now, with the source doc and sandbox, the website creator can add a better level of security that can be added before with iframes. There are a lot of new elements or tags that HTML5 has, but I've just listed a few of them here, and we're going to be making use of some of them. We're going to try and build a simple dashboard layout with some of these elements here. I've listed a lot of them here, and you can just pause the video and look at them. And I've also put their specific tasks there, and you can also try to try some of them on your own. Now, as an example, we are going to try to create this layout here. This layout is actually like a layout of a dashboard, or like it's a dashboard layout actually. So but I want us to try and use this to demonstrate what HTML5 can be used for. So I've created a source code for us to start. We're going to start with this code here. This is the simple structure of our page, the page we want to create here. Remember, a web page is made of structure, style, and behavior. Right here, we're going to use this code to structure our page. So I'm going to explain what exactly we have in this code before I'll now go ahead and add it to my text editor. Now, you already understand some parts of this code, like what the HTML tag here does. It actually marks the boundaries of our page. It actually creates sets our page, our HTML documents, so that the browser can understand that this is a HTML document that is about to handle. Now we have the head section as usual, and then we have the body section. And remember, we say that everything that the user sees and interacts with on the page lies within the body section. Now I'm going to go ahead and also explain specifically some HTML elements that we've added here. Now within the body section here, I've also divided my page into two sections, and that is a header section and a main section. Then I have also a third section, which is the footer section, and I'm going to show you right here. This is my header section, and this middle part is my main section, and then the bottom part is my footer section. Now I'm going to go back to the page. Now this, for my head section, I've used the header semantic, or this header element, to achieve that. Now I've also put within the header section, I've put a navigation element so that it can handle my navigation links whenever I'm ready to add that. Then coming to my main section, I have a major element here, which is wrapping all other elements, which I call the article element. Now this article element houses all the other elements within my main section. Now within the article element, I have a division here. Now this division handles or houses three sections here, and I have three section elements here. Actually, going back to this layout, these three sections are actually these three button-like images you're seeing here. And you can see the boundary here. This is my article element that houses all of them, and this is the three sections I just showed you that is being housed by a div element. Now this div element is given a class name control. I want you to take note of that. Apart from this div element, I have two aside elements which are giving class names of product and label. So these two aside elements are actually what created these sections of my page. Then finally, I have my footer, which is actually here. So I'm going to go ahead and add this code to my text editor. You can still use any text editor of your choice, but I'm still going to use the notepad editor just to keep things simple. So I'll just paste my code here, and I'm going to save as dashboard. I'm going to save it as dashboard. Then I'll make sure my encoding is UTF-8, and then I save. Make sure I save it to my desktop. Save it, and I'll save my page. So I'm going to go to the desktop where I have it. Okay, I actually missed out one step. Okay, I forgot to put the .html extension. I'm sorry for that. So I put the .html extension, and then I save my page, and I can find the page here. I'm going to delete this one because it's wrongly saved. So I have to launch my page on the browser, and this is what I have. Actually, there's no content on the page, so I'm not seeing anything at all. So the next thing I need to do now is I need to start styling all the contents on my page so that I can actually see them. Because why I can't see anything on the page is that, one, we don't have any content, and secondly, we don't have any styling on the page. So let's go back to our presentation. Now the next thing we'll be looking at now is, for the purpose of styling this page, we need to look closer at the concept of styling a page. So styling is what helps you to add colors, helps you to add heights, things like width, and it helps you to shape your page just the way you want your page layout to be. So we're going to be using styling to add all the colors and all the shapes we've seen in our sample page layout that we're trying to build. So what is styling? Styling is a way of adding all these properties I've mentioned. And how is it done? Styling is done by by using this syntax I've just displayed on the screen. First, you have to mention the style property name, and then you put a column, and then you mention the value of that property, and you put a semicolon before you put another style. Now, example, we have color here. Color is the property we want to style, and the value of the style is red here. And see, as you can see, it's the separating factor between two of them is this column here. So we have the property name, and then we have the value, and then a semicolon before I now put another property. Now I have this property here, which is background color, and I have a column before I mention the value of the background color, which is yellow. Now notice that the background color is made up of two names, background and color, and a hyphen separates all the two names. That is what you do when you have a styling property that is made up of two names. You separate both names with a semicolon, with a hyphen, I mean to say. So this is just shown here in the example. Here we have property name, showing that whenever you have two names making up a property name, you have to separate the two names with a hyphen. So having understood that, let's go over to see the different kind of stylings we have. We have three kinds of styling actually. We have external styling, inline styling, and then we have the internal styling. Now let's look at the external styling. External styling is actually the styling that we refer to as the cascading style sheet, or the CSS styling, and because it uses a cascading style sheet which lies external to the page. But we'll leave this for another day or another video, because we really need to look at it in deep details to understand what it's all about. Now let's look at inline styling. Inline styling is something we actually used in our last video to create. Remember the layout we created with divs? We had to put styles within an element just like we have here. So inline styling is a styling that you put within the element that you actually want to apply the style to. For example, we have a div here and we just use a style attribute, and then we start putting all the style property value pair inside the style style attribute. That is how to do inline styling. Now internal styling is done differently. Internal styling is actually done with the style element, which is placed within the head element, and that's what we're going to use to actually achieve our layout that we just described here. So we're going to be using internal styling, because we already know how to use inline styling from the last video. So we're going to use internal styling today to try to achieve this layout. Now I want you to look at this particular syntax for using internal styling. Now first we have to put our style element, which is this is opening and closing tag, and within the style element we start putting the style rules. But before then we have to put a selector, then we'll put a curly brace before we put our style rules. Our style rules are actually the same thing we mentioned here, which are the style property value pair that we just talked about. But what is this selector? Now this selector is a way of actually targeting a particular element in your page. We'll talk about that later, but let's look at this example here. This example here is an example of how we can use internal styling to style our page. So here we have a style element, and then within the style element we have a selector, and this selector is just saying that I want to style all the divs on this page, and I want to give them all this style here. I want to give them a background color of this, and I want to give them a color of this. Now color is the property that defines the color of the text content of an element. So we're saying here that this div, all the divs on the page that will have this internal styling will have their text content will have a color of this, which is white, and then we have the background color also having this color. Now the color codes I'm using here, it might be strange to you. It's called a hexadecimal code. You don't have to worry about it. We'll talk more about it next time, maybe in the next video when we talk about the cascading style sheet. Now let's look closer at how selectors are made or chosen. Now what are selectors, and what is the rule of making up our selector? We can see here that we have just one selector here, which is specifying that we want to style this div, but we can still have some complex situations that will require that we need to know more about selectors. So let's look at selector rules. Selector rules determines which style rules apply to a specific element to the document in the document tree. Now here are some few examples. Like when we see something like a dot and a name, like for instance we have dots here and a name, that actually refers to a class attribute. So for example, if we have dot intro, that means we are referring to an element with a class called intro. And in the case of ID, we use hash. It's just the same as class, but this time we use hash to specify, use a sharp to specify that, okay, this is an ID called first name. Then asterisk simply refers to every element in your page. So when you put an asterisk as a selector, you are actually saying that you want that style rule that lies within the curly brace to be applied to all the elements on that page. Now when you want to style a particular element, all you need to do is to specify the element name. Like this P here shows that we want to select all paragraph elements on our page and then style it accordingly. Now if you want to style more than one element, what you simply have to do is to place the style, all the elements you want to style or all the selectors you want to style, and then you separate them with commas like what we have here. Like this is saying that we are going to select all the divs, all the paragraph elements, and then we style them accordingly. So let's move over to the next stage. Now the next thing we need to do now is that we need to go and now start styling our page. Now we already have the codes here, and we have the codes here, and we've already had this code put right in our div, our text editor, like what we have here. We have a text editor here. Let me make this bigger so that it can actually be visible, much more visible than what it is now. So this is our code right in our text editor, and that's the code here. That's the code here. So now let's look at what happened here. What we really want to do now here with our style. Let's go down to the styling. Now this is our styling codes that we want to start using. So first style we have here is the body style. Now what is it saying? It's saying that we want to style our body element, and it wants to give it the background color that looks like this. So if we go back to our page, our code, you see that our body starts from here and ends here, and we actually say that this is where the users can actually see. That's actually the body of our website, remember. And remember that everything that lies here doesn't really get seen. So I'm going to go back to the page, and I'm going to go straight to the styling. That's it here. I'm going to copy this code here for the body element, and I'm going to go straight to my page. Now within my head section, let me just separate this a bit. This is my head section, and this is my body section. So I have two sections, the body section and then the head section. So within the head section, I'm going to add a style element. So I'm going to add style element, and then within my style element, I've pasted my body style rule. So this selector is saying that I want to style the body section. So what we expect to see now is the background color of the whole page is going to change. So let's save and check out our page. This is our page, and then we refresh, and that's the color we just added. So the next thing, go back to our presentation, and we check out for the next. So this is the next style that we want to add to our page. Now this style, the selector name here is header. What it's saying actually is that, going back to our code here, it's saying that it wants to style this header section with the style rules here. You want to start a section there with style rule here. Remember that this part, this header part, is actually this section here that looks like our navigation bar. So this is a style we want to give it, this particular style here. So I'm going to go and get the code, and I'm going to go straight to my page within my style element once more, and I have to paste this, and I save, and I go straight and then refresh my page, and that's what I have. So I'm going to do some little explanation here so that you can understand what's going on. So what happened here is that we have styled our header section. We gave it a margin of -10 pixels, and we gave it a height of 120 pixels and background color of this, which is actually red. Now you might be wondering, what is margin? Margin is actually the space that is around your element. Your element is seen as a box, which we call the box model. Every element is seen by styles or style rules as a box. So this is the box. So you know, like a box usually has a width and has a height, and then around the box you have some space around it. If you want the space around it to be big, you can add some figure to your margin, or you can add negative figures if you want to just go. So what I did here is that I just removed all the space around the box here so that I won't have any space. So that's why it's clinging to the walls of the page, just like what we saw. So the next part is the article. Now the article is actually the main section of my page. It's in the main section of my page rather. This is my main section of my page, and this side I have article here, and this actually represents this particular boundary you're seeing right here. So I want us to look at that styling once more so they can understand much more about what it's saying. So it's giving this part a minimum height of 120 pixels. Minimum height means that this is the least height you can have. That means you can have more. As more items are going into the page, the height is expected to expand to accommodate more contents. So then there's a border. Now this border has 3 values. Sometimes some properties can have more than one value, and this is an example. So we have the border having 3 values here. The first value is specifying the border thickness, and the second value is specifying what kind of line are we going to use to create the border, and then the other one is specifying the border color. So that is what we have here. We have a border here. You can see the border. It has a thickness of 5 pixels, and then it has a color that looks like orange, and the solid line shows that the line is continuous. You can actually use like dashed line like we have here. You can use dashed instead of solid to create dashed line. You can use dotted, and also and different kind of lines. So I'll go back, and we're going to get our code. We're going to get our code, article, then we come into the style section, and then we paste our article, and then we save up, and so that's our article section. So let's add the next few other things. Our page, let's look now back to the presentation, just for you to see the screen clearly. Now I have the section. Now section is actually the part that we see here. That's the section. We have 3 sections, so we're going to use, that's these 3 sections here. So we're going to use that styling. So once we mention this section, it's going to affect those 3 items because they are all sections. Okay, so I'm going to have to do a little modification here, but I'm just going to first of all get the code, and there you go, save. I think I have a bit of code here. Save it. So I have this. Now you can see it doesn't look quite like what we have here. That's why I actually said I will need to make some modification. Actually, we have to have margin 5 pixels instead of margin left, because this is only giving a left margin, and I want margin round all the boxes. The boxes are actually joined, as you can see, but I'll have to correct this. Then the color too, it should be this, and so when I save and then I refresh, I'll have the exact thing I'm supposed to have. So let's go back quickly to other things. I think I'll have to skip this style. It's not necessary. I don't think it's necessary. Then we look at aside. Now look at this kind of selector. We have aside dot label. So what it means is that there's a side element, and inside the side element you have a class called label. That's what this selector means. So let's check out and see what we have. You can see we have aside and then we have a class level. So it's going to pick on this aside particularly. It doesn't want to apply this just one style to all the asides. So that's why we have give two of them different class names so that we can actually target them using that kind of selector rule. So we'll pick up the style here. I would like you to study the video very well when you have the time, so you can see what the style is. Then maybe you can ask questions through comments, or you can attend our webinar. So I've saved. I'll now go and so that's the item there. So next I'm going to be a little bit faster. I'm going to go to the next section. Let me just zoom it up so that you can see. So this is the aside product. That's the other aside element. The other aside element, that's this one, aside product. So, and this is the style rule that handles it. That's going to be applied to it. So I'll go to my page again once more and add this one, and then I save, then back, I have to refresh, and I have that. So then the next thing is to go here and check the next style rule. Now the next style rule is control. Control is a class, so it's actually targeting an element that has this class control. Let's check out our code again and see. Now in our code we have a div element that has the name, a class name control. So this div is going to have that particular styling that is mentioned here. So it's just going to have a width of 700 pixels, and then you're going to have a left float. A left float, like I said in other video, it helps you to it helps your divs to actually, or your elements to actually be placed in. It has it to be arranged properly, like what you see here now. Everything is a little bit scattered. So I'm going to like float some things and help these gaps to be cleared. So this is something actually we're going to talk more about when we get to the next video. So I'm going to pick up this particular control here, and now I'm going to place it in my code. I'm going to save up once more, then I'm going to refresh. So I have everything arranged. Now the only part that's remaining now is my footer, which we have the codes here. You can see the footer code here. So we just pick it up and go straight to our page and place our footer code style, save, then refresh, and we're done. Now the only thing that is missing here is the image you see in this box. Like, let's go back and check. Sorry, let's go back and check if we have everything in order. So of course we have everything except for the image. So how did we get this image done? This is not a JPEG image or a PNG image. This is actually what we call scalable vector graphics, and that is the next thing we're supposed to be looking at. Now scalable vector graphics is another awesome feature that HTML5 also offers. Scalable vector graphics helps you to draw different kind of shapes in with your HTML code. So you don't really need to get images that can make your page heavy or very slow to load. You can use SVGs to create any kind of graphics, like I've used it here to create that image you're seeing here. So what will happen now is that we're going to discuss more about scalable vector graphics in our next video, I'll explain how we created this particular image you have here, or how you can create similar images on your own. So, but for now, I'm going to add the scalable vector graphic, which is actually showing the icon of a user into my page. So where am I going to put that exactly? Now recall that if we can go back, you will see that this scalable vector graphic, or that image of a human icon, sorry, the page is taking some time to load. So this scalable vector graphics is actually lying within this aside. You know, we have two asides. One is product, one is label. Remember, this is the product, so that's where I'm going to paste the code in between this. So I'm going to do that straight away. So go to my page, and then this is the aside product, and I'll space it out a bit, and then I paste my scalable vector graphic code inside, and then I save up. And next I'm going to go to this page and then refresh. There we go. So this I'm afraid here this is where we are going to stop for today for this video. So in our next video, we'll be talking more about scalable vector graphics and cascading style sheets. So thank you for watching this video. I want you to watch out for the next video, and you can also check out our website at candlewoodng.com/blog/videos to get more videos, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you.